Hi, welcome everyone. We are so excited to invite you back for another bite-sized conversation. Today we are joined by our very own Linda Diamond, and our topic of discussion today is supporting adolescents with word reading difficulties. I'm Monica Ng. I am the Vice President of Education Programs at Pivot Learning, and I'm joined by Carrie Thomas Beck.
Welcome, everybody.
She's the Director of Literacy at CORE. Today, our conversation is going to be with our own wonderful Linda Diamond. By the time students who struggle with reading enter high school, we often see that they're feeling very defeated. And so, what are your thoughts about how we can engage and motivate adolescents to become strong readers at this point in their educational careers? And what do we do as educators to really promote self-advocacy in these students?
Good questions. Okay. First of all, nothing motivates students as much as success. So if they know that they are still going to have access to the core, but they also are going to have targeted assistance that is for them, that meets their needs, and quickly can start seeing success, that's what will motivate these students. These students know that they've been struggling. And we've watched these kids in core classrooms where they are getting high quality instruction that's scaffolded. And when you interview these students, they will tell you, I'm enjoying my class, but I can't read anything myself. I am having to have it read aloud, or I'm having to have extra support. I know I can't do it. They know, first of all, that they're struggling. So making sure they have something that is targeted for them, number one. And I have this as a direct experience because I was a high school English teacher my first year. I started in 1972. I was medievalist. I knew absolutely nothing about teaching reading. And fortunately, I was sent to a great educator, Siegfried Engelmann, who taught me how to teach. At that point, it was corrective reading. And I had 22 young men in a class called Skills Lab who were reading at about the third grade, fourth grade level. None of them qualified for special ed, by the way. This is in 1972. So we weren't using RTI or anything like that. It was just discrepancy model. And these kids were scheduled with me for a single period. And I started teaching corrective reading. And at first they thought, this is baby. This is really babyish. And I said, let's be patient. And within a couple weeks, they began to see immediately that they were reading words that they had struggled with in the past. I also intuitively knew that it was going to drive me nuts, and I wasn't going to be able to give them all they needed because they were so behind. They lacked vocabulary, they lacked content. So I requested that I be given these kids for an extra period. See, intuitively, I knew I needed more time. And also, I wanted to do something different just to keep myself sane. So I asked that they be given to me. They were unscheduled from history and in some cases electives because the school agreed it was more important to teach them to read in order to do well. And this was high school, mind you. And plus nobody wanted them in their classes anyway. So I had them for 2 periods, and in the second period, I was reading aloud to them from higher level materials, working on vocabulary and writing, and also started to find what was then called high-low books. Some of our listeners will know what those are, and they started to read. At about the midpoint of the year, these students were able to read many more books on their own because they now had enough decoding and some multisyllabic word level work from the corrective reading curriculum that reading became easier. And they were highly motivated. The other thing we did is we were reading plays. Now, this may sound very strange, but plays are much easier for struggling readers because you're reading scripts with very small sections at a time. And these kids became even more motivated. The other thing is I was giving them some fluency work, and we were graphing their fluency, and they would see how many more words correct per minute they could read. All of that is motivating because they felt successful. And I would answer this question that you need to motivate kids by targeting their need, making clear that you're doing that, and giving them quick wins so they can see their success. Now, on the issue of self-advocacy, these are kids who will not advocate. They won't do it. They've been down so low, they don't know what up is. Their parents usually have tried to advocate for them, and the school has ignored them. And that's the reality for these kids. They end up in the school to prison pipeline. They have tried to advocate for themselves, and their schools have turned a deaf ear. And by the time they're in high school, they pretty much have given up. So we can try, but there has to be a teacher, there has to be some mentor, some advocate in the school who is going to advocate for these students and then help them as a partner advocate for themselves. They will not. It just won't happen. By this time in high school, they have been beaten down. All they see is failure. All they hear from teachers is you can't, they can't, blame. Their parents often give up. Listen to Sonia Thomas, who often is on Twitter, and what happened to her kids. Listen to the interviews with young people in prison, and they will tell you, I tried early on. So they need a mentor. They need a co-advocate. And that's what will help these students. Somebody in the system or outside has to advocate for these students with them. But they will not do it on their own. Think about it. If you had been to the point in high school where you're reading like this young man I'm going to interview at second grade level, and you've been struggling for so long, it's amazing that you haven't dropped out.
Linda, we so appreciate you sharing your words of wisdom and how we can best support adolescents who struggle with word reading difficulties. Thank you so much for your time.
So our mission at Pivot and Core is to partner with educators to design and implement solutions to their greatest challenges in achieving educational justice. And so, as you can tell from these conversations, we're deeply committed to improving teaching and learning for students. And both of our organizations have 20 years of expertise working with districts and schools to support systems, to support delivering curriculum implementation and services aligned to high quality English language arts and math instructional materials.